Known as the most dangerous island in the world, North Sentinel has been isolated for centuries. Let's explore one of the few uncontacted civilizations. It may not look like it, but North Sentinel Island is known as the most dangerous island in the world. At first glance, it looks like one of many islands in the Andaman Islands located in the Bay of Bengal. But what is that shape off its coast? What secrets does this land hide? Let's dive into the story of what is believed to be the last known pre-Neolithic fox on Earth. One of the few uncontacted fox, the origins of the Sentinelese Jus. How have these fox remained free from outside interference for so long, after all the rest of humanity is spread around the globe? Ironically, although they have not left their land in many millennia, the Sentinelese are believed to be descended from one of the first groups of fox to leave Africa. Historically, European colonization of other parts of the world hasn't ended well for the indigenous fox. Fortunately for the Sentinelese, they managed to avoid being colonized, haven't really had much contact with the rest of the world. There have been a few instances, though. The Sentinelese are believed to have been among the first humans to leave Africa, settling on their land around 60,000 years ago. They're known to the Onge, another group of indigenous people from the Andaman Islands. Based on what little is known of the Sentinelese, their culture also seems similar to the Onge. However, when the British brought Onge members to meet the Sentinel Island group in the 19th century, they were unable to communicate as their languages were very different. It was clear there had been a long period of separation between the two groups. John Ritchie, the Nineveh shipwreck. In 1771, British surveyor John Ritchie noticed lights on North Sentinel Island while doing some work for the East India Company. You might remember their association with Christopher Columbus. Unlike Columbus, Ritchie didn't stop at North Sentinel Island, but noted the multitude of lights moved on. The island disappeared from recorded history until 1867, when an Indian merchant ship called the Nineveh was wrecked on its shores. A little more than 100 passengers survived. After a few days on the shore, they were attacked by the Sentinelese, who didn't seem to want any company. The captain noted the Sentinelese carried iron-tipped arrows shortly before he escaped in a small boat. He was later picked up by a rescue party along with everyone else who managed to survive by throwing stick stones. The Sentinelese. Maurice Vidal, Portman's expedition. For the next 13 years, the British colonists of the Andamanese Islands took the hint, left North Sentinel alone. But in 1880, the officer in charge of the colony, Maurice Vidal Portman, led an expedition to the island. They took along some Aboriginal people of the Andamanese Islands who guided them into the island, where they found pathways, recently abandoned villages. The Sentinelese seemed to have vanished into the forest. Portman might have been relieved they didn't stick around to defend their home by throwing arrows, but he decided to press his luck. Keep looking. After several days, he found 6 of the island's people, an elderly couple, 4 children. Then he decided the best way to introduce himself and his society would be to kidnap them. Admittedly, the logic here wasn't very well thought out. They were hauled onto his ship and taken to Port Blair. Shortly after, the captives all became very sick, likely due to the fact that their isolated community had not been exposed to the rest of the world's germs in almost 60,000 years. The elderly couple died. The children were quickly returned to the island with a bunch of presents. Portman apparently thought that gifts totally make up for kidnapping and wrongful death. Actually, he didn't express any remorse about what happened. Instead, insulted the Sentinelese, saying they had what he thought of as an idiotic expression of countenance and manner of behavior. Portman made several more visits to the island, which he was lucky to survive considering how he introduced himself, plus the people's lack of fondness for strangers. He may have had second thoughts about his actions, though, because in later years he noted that the islanders' interactions with outsiders had done them nothing but harm. After that, the island was mostly left alone, although an escaped convict from Port Blair made it onto the shore in 1896. Apparently, the Sentinelese had decided they were through with outsiders. Maybe because of that whole kidnapping incident promptly killed him. Anthropologists study. It wasn't until the 1960s that anthropologists decided to study the island and its people, or try to, anyway. Indian anthropologist Triloknath Pandit was the first to land on the island in 1967. Like Portman, he initially found it deserted. His crew poked around the empty huts, leaving gifts of candy cloth buckets, pilfering a few items for their own study.